So fast forward 10 years later, and so I had got rid of myopia twice, strabismus, amblyopia, and diplopia, and astigmatism. And fast forward 10 years later, by that time, I was already a tenured professor at the University of Lille at the time in the north of France. And I was invited as a guest researcher at the Autonomous University of Barcelona. And I was preparing a special number for a research journal. International Sociology is the name of the journal. So if you want, you can look the year 2007. There was an issue on networks and identity. That was what I was working on at the time. And so I had to read a lot of papers very quickly and review them, send them to evaluators, etc., do all the editorial work with the scientific journal. And so I had to read a lot very fast. And so I would print the papers, and I would print 2 pages in one sheet so that I could read faster. And I realized that I had to put the papers further from me because I couldn't read them clearly. And then when I would be in the subway in Barcelona, I couldn't read the names of the stops and the names of the lines. So I thought, third time that I have vision problems, but now I know that they can be solved because I've done it twice. So let's see if I can do it a third time, still and yet another time. By then, I had already been involved for 5 years with approaches that approaches that are psychosomatic, that consider any symptom as the reflection of an emotional tension or a tension in your consciousness. And I was exploring very successfully these approaches for other areas of my health. And I thought, okay, maybe I can make this model work for my eyesight as well. And since I have improved my eyesight already twice successfully, maybe I can do it a third time, this time with this angle of emotional aspects behind the eye symptoms. And so I went to an ophthalmologist. It was a woman in Lille when I was back from Barcelona, to have a diagnose, but not with the idea to buy glasses for myself, but to just know the name of the symptom I had so that I could go back to my book of references and hypotheses to see what were the emotional correspondences with those symptoms. And so the lady told me that I had developed presbyopia. I was like 33 or 34. So really presbyopia at 33, 34, it's super early. I felt as if 20 years had fallen upon me and I had become older all of a sudden. And she told me that I had developed, that I had astigmatism. And of course, she told me to go get glasses. And I remember telling myself, I'm giving myself 2 months of time to solve this. If by the end of 2 months I haven't solved it, then I'll consider buying glasses. But so I never got the glasses. I never bought glasses. Anyway, so I went back to my books and I looked at the correspondences for presbyopia and astigmatism. And with the models that I was studying at the time, which is Martin Brofman's model, and he has a book on eyesight that's called Improve Your Vision. I think that's the name in English. Anyway, so I looked those correspondences and I had to ask myself if what the book was saying was true. So I had to have a very in-depth conversation, authentic conversation with myself. For astigmatism, the idea is that you have betrayed yourself. You are not seeing yourself clearly anymore. And you're trying to fit into somebody else's expectations, and you're not doing what is true for yourself. And that felt like a slap on my face. At that time, again, I was already a tenured professor. I was in the editorial board of an international scientific journal in my area. I have had 2 prizes for my PhD. I was having a very promising and brilliant career as an academic sociologist. And my eyes were telling me, this is not interesting. I don't want to do that. Okay, so I had to take that signal. And the presbyopia at 33 was telling me that the rest of my life already looked boring for me, that the best of my life was already behind, and that I was not considering myself the main character in my own film, And I was giving others what they wanted, but not to myself. So I really had to have a very serious time of reflection with myself and to think what I really wanted to do with my life, because I had to recognize that taking this academic career was somewhat my father's dream, to have a scientific daughter. But my vision was telling me, my eyes were telling me that this was not my vision. Mm-hmm. So I had to think, and I came to the conclusion that maybe I could still do it from the university, but what I really wanted to do would be, if we put some scientific terms around it, experiential clinical sociology. Mm-hmm. Integrative experiential clinical sociology. Or to say it in other words, I wanted to, with my research, have an impact in other people's lives and give them the tools so that they could be empowered to make a transformation for themselves. And since at that time, I had already had 3 experiences of vision improvement, the first at the physical level, so to speak, to call them somehow analytically, with exercises, stimulation, relaxations, the eye patches. The second time at the chemical level, in this case with antibiotics, but I wondered if there were other areas that could impact eyesight at this level, and there are, of course. And the third time at the emotional level, so I wondered, are there other levels that we should consider? And of course there are. And I came up from that point on. I did research, I trained myself. Then I got in contact with the Bates method and became more of a student and trained myself. And I have organized the information I have found, both in research and the trainings and the experience I've had, in 6 levels, which are practical for me. Is the world organized in this way? Not necessarily. There's other angles that can be taken, but these 6 levels make sense for me. And this is a way in which I walk people through their path of transformation with the methodology that I have organized. And so for me, I first tell them about the physical level, and I tell them about the anatomy and physiology of the eye and how they can relax their eyesight and how to apply the 5 principles of the Bates method, at least relaxation, movement, and central fixation. The other 2 maybe belong for me to another level. Anyway, so relaxation, exercises, movement. The second level, the chemical level. So I'm not a doctor, a medical doctor, so I'm not giving treatments like antibiotics and things, but people can focus in how they eat, in nutrition and detox. And we'll talk a little bit more in a moment. Then the third level for me is the emotional level. And so we dive deep into what are the emotions that are hiding behind the eye symptoms. Then we talk about the mental level, because many of us vision educators here share the idea that, and with Dr. Bates, of course, that 80%, 90% of vision and eyesight is not happening in your eyes, but in your brain. I know that Dr. Grossman was saying that the whole body participates in the process of eyesight and vision, and it makes sense. So there's plenty of things that we can optimize in how our brain is handling information so that we can see better. The 5th level for me is where I organize the relationship with light, artificial light, natural light, and energy. And we can use energy also to accelerate healing processes. And the 6th level, I organize there what for me belongs to habits, lifestyle, what you're going to keep on doing after you go through the training so that you can keep having a very good eyesight for life.